Hi, and welcome to day 5 of playing around with React components. Let's see. Last time around, I I stopped midway through digging through their Shopify's basic button components. I was comparing my implementation with theirs in terms of how they achieved this blue border outline on right click of the button versus how I achieved it. So the way I achieved it, I actually added a border, um, a 1 pixel border. Um, but when I looked at their code, I didn't see any indication that they were doing this. I saw some indications that they were perhaps using the outline property, not the border property, which makes more sense. Let's see, CSS outline property, not W3 schools. Let's use MDN. Yeah, so there is an outline property. There was some indication that they were using this an outline property. And now I just rather than coding in this session, I'm going to spend about 30 minutes, more or less, just looking through the button code, the Shopify Polaris button code, with a view to understanding how they are setting um, how they are setting the styling for this button, especially how they are setting the outline border styling. Um, so let's see. This is the repo. They have a storybook folder. The first time I looked at this folder, it didn't make much sense to me. It wasn't what I expected in terms of um, the basic folder layout that comes with this the getting started folder layout that comes with storybook. But I think they're programmatically like going through components and creating templates or something. I'm not gonna look too much into that because that's not my focus right now. So other than that, we have some config locales playground, script source tests. So I want to source, and we have styles over here. I'm just gonna have a look at what this basically looks like. So common styles is all it's like compiling foundation and shared styles. So let's look at foundation styles. What do we have here? Focus ring. Um, okay, well, focus ring, and you have the layout, something that's called layout. Okay, that's in foundation styles, and then in shared styles, what we have? We have accessibility breakpoints, buttons. I will ignore everything else and just go into buttons. What do they have in shared button styles? High contrast button outline. Interesting. Okay. If you're looking at this and this doesn't make sense to you in terms of what language is this? This is SCSS, so it's like TypeScript for CSS basically. It's a superset of CSS is just the way I think about it. So you can do things like calculations and nested nested uh, you can nest pseudo classes like this whereas in standard CSS you won't be able to. So I'm just gonna glance through the kind of shared button styles they have here. Padding, shadow, color, border. And in terms of outline, this is a particular, I don't know what triggers that. MS high contrast. And it looks like it's a media query. I've never seen a high contrast media query. But anyway, um, active. Okay, just curious to see if there's any other place where there are 11. Okay, on hover. They even make it transparent. On focus, they they intentionally set there when it's on focus. That's interesting. Okay, what else do we have here? A mixing button outline. So a mixing is like a function in SCSS. And this takes outline color, background color, and let's keep going. Disabled. Even when they're taking outline color, they're not. Oh, and style button on focus has no outline. Okay, well, these are the base styles. Shared button styles. Looks like there are other interesting things for other components. And in terms of common, they just bring all of those together and okay, cool. That's all they do. So that out of the way in terms of styles. Tokens. That's interesting, but if I go into that'll take from my focus. But I saw a post recently about their Shopify's design system tokens. So I would like to look at that later on. Utilities. I'm going to ignore utilities. Let's just go straight. Actually, let's see utilities. Okay, cool. That kind of stuff. Just very quick. The outline. Okay, button utilities. Anything obvious? So far, nothing. So let's go to the button. If you're new to front-end development and you look at this button, so this is the component file for the button, and you look at all this and you think, oh my god, why do you need all this code for a button? Well, I mean, it just adds up. Like every single thing that you want to enable in terms of how a button behaves by under different circumstances, depending on what props there are and what props there aren't. Yeah, it all just adds up. So front end development can get interesting. I wouldn't say, well, yeah, interesting and complicated. So yeah, that's the button. I've looked at that. What I want to look at now is let's start with index.ts. Export everything from utils and export everything from button. Now, what's in utils? Utils, complex action from types, button props from button, and we're exporting a buttons from. Let's be sure. Export function, action, overrides if it's there. Okay, this is one definition. This is another definition. This is yet another definition. This one takes overrides as required, or gives it a default empty object. Why? This is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this patterns before. But anyway, that's the definition, and then that's the implementation. It looks like. This one takes a key. So that's the implementation of that. That's the implementation of that. And in terms of this, it's very interesting. So when you import from, curious to know what happens when you import buttons from, I guess depending on the number of arguments let's mute notifications, do not stop for 1 hour. Just depending on the number of arguments you pass, you end up using one of these button from. But let's go into the actual CSS for the button. So the idea here is I'm just trying to gain a rough sketch of what's going on in terms of how is the styling building up. So we can see that they are bringing in all those styles that were defined in shared button and foundation and foundation CSS files or SCSS files. And yeah, they're using those in here. Now, my assumption is if they didn't use a border outline, the border property, then they did use the outline property to control the visibility of the outline on focus, right? So ideally, I should be able to find some property something that sets the outline like that. And what's really annoying is I can't, right? I can't. I do find a lot of outline classes, so, but none of them actually. Okay, I'm gonna do two things, or just one thing. I want to open the the shared button. Let's go back one more. Oh no, it's here. I want to open the shared button style. Okay, is there a mixin? There is something. There are apparently 5 places. Okay, that's one. And the mixin here is the high contrast button outline. Okay. The other one is when we hover on the button base. I don't think we should be interested in this because we're looking for the thing that actually sets the outline. Setting the outline to 0 doesn't interest us, right? Unless we'll look at focus ring as well. Let's open source once again. Let's look at focus ring styles, foundation, focus ring. I'll just close these tabs. Okay, in the main button, in the obvious button CSS style, or the one that doesn't include the shared button styling, we don't have any. We're not in this file setting the outline property anywhere. Okay, so I'm going to ignore this, and then I'm just going to focus on the shared button style. And I'm asking myself, where exactly are we setting this outline property? Given that they're not using the border property to set that outline, right? Where are they setting it? And they're not. Let's say they're not setting it there clearly. This is a very, I think, edge case scenario because they're using a media query. So I'm going to ignore that one, which leaves two locations where they are potentially setting this outline. One, when we're hovering, but we know that when we're hovering, we're making it transparent, right? So that's giving us no visual feedback, which leaves us with focus. I mean, that kind of makes sense. When we right click, we are giving it some sort of focus. I will try and test whatever understanding I gain from this by actually coding it up. But right now, I don't fully understand why we're able to do that. My assumption is we are not seeing an outline here because of this. Yeah, interesting. So let's see. Unstyled, unfocused. I think it's because of this. I'm not sure. But we're not seeing an outline, this button has, even though this button has focus, like I'm clicking on it, it has focus. We're not seeing an outline. If I shift tab outside of it and tab into it, we then see focus. Why the different behavior? It's really confusing. Why isn't there focus when I click, but there's focus when I tab into it? Also, why is it that there's no focus when I click, but when I right click and there's a context menu, there's focus? Wait, is it just me, or was that blue a bit different? This blue looks more solid. This blue looks more solid than... Oh no, it looks the same. I mean, it looks the same. Just by eyeballing it, looks the same. Okay, well, I want to see what's happening with this focus ring. It's a mixing button base that takes some vertical padding and calculates using the CSS variable this minus this over 2. Well, okay, fair enough. It's a mixin. It doesn't take anything actually. It sets the... I don't recall what the syntax means, but I don't think it's relevant to us. But it looks like it's setting... It looks like it's a syntax you need when you want to use some calc. I don't know. But we're not going to... I'm not going to focus on that. We are including the focus ring here. What does include mean? Maybe I will have to actually look these things up shortly. And we're passing in a border width from the looks of it using the CSS variable. And we're doing a lot of other things. Nowhere here are we... okay, there's a border, solid. Nowhere here are we setting the CSS. I can't see here that we're setting CSS that would result in a blue outline border. The closest here is this, but from my previous investigation, the last on day 4, I noted that this border neutral subdued isn't a blue color, so I'm ignoring this as the thing responsible for setting the blue outline. I think that's about it. In terms of the suspects, none of them are really suspect. In terms of the hover, when we hover, we make the outline transparent. Yeah, there is no outline. By the way, what happens... Let's make that full screen. Okay, let's get the button. Cool. What happens if we do set the outline to some color, like brown, something disgusting? Does nothing. I think I need to specify outline with... Let's see what they're doing here. Not here, not there. Here is something solid, transparent. Okay, just like the border then. So we need something... Oh gosh. Click. Thank you. We need, let's say, 1px solid brown. There we go. So when we do set the outline, I assume we will have some other CSS property somewhere here that's crossed out, which was initially set in the outline but is now crossed out. Oh, when we hover, let's select hover. Yes, so there was the CSS property we're looking at to make that transparent on hover, but we've overridden that here. My fan is screaming again. I think it's okay. I think I'm not going to stress about this level of noise. But let's see if there's anything I can do. Let's elevate my laptop just a bit. Cool. Right. It's good to see that we can override that particular outline thingy. But when I right click, remove the hover, it's always there. When I right click, interesting. So when I right click, whatever is responsible for applying the outline is not overriding my what do you call it? My always on, always present outline property. And if I just make that more obvious, let's say make that 3 pixels, you can see what I mean. Okay. So it's not overriding it, but now this is kind of like on top and it's hiding it, which is, and so I mean that feels like a hint to what I should be looking for. Video focus visible. Focus. Again, we're overriding that with brown. Alright, I have a delivery, so I'll be right back. Let's pause. Alright, I am back. I so if my outline property is not overriding the styles that are applying that blue outline, then do we really have control over that outline? Is what I'm wondering. Focus visible, nothing if I remove that. Okay, alright, so it is overriding for focus visible. But not when I write. Sorry, let's apply that. Oh, I forgot that doesn't show up when it doesn't show up. For focus, it's not overriding. There's a hint in here I'm trying to get, but my expectation is that this outline style, that's important, will override any other just to make sure we're doing that, any other styles that apply to the outline of the button. If this isn't happening, then that blue outline isn't being set using the outline property. That's simple, plain. If that's blue, if we're still using that blue, then this isn't overriding any other property, and that property is therefore not being set using the outline property. So what exactly is setting this focus? Could it be a border? Let's see. It's not the border. It's not overriding the blue either. So we can see the red, we can see the brown. Let's make the brown 2. See the red, brown, we can also see the blue. So, question is, what is setting that blue outline property? Let's see if there are any clues in the code. The only thing that seems like it's doing a focus, it's setting a focus property is this focus ring mixing. So let's have a look at the focus ring. The focus ring takes how can I close? My phone is screaming. Oh gosh. I told myself I would switch to Mighty app because of this issue. But not yet. So I'm definitely going to, because it's too much. Okay, so yeah, let's look at the focus ring. What properties does it set? There's a pseudo element, box shadow with a transparent outline. There is a pseudo element with a transparent outline. There is a, what is content? Content. Do we import content? Where is content? Content is just so this takes a size, a border width, and a style. Stroke, offset, border radius, negative offsets. We don't care about those particularly. If there's a style, or the style is base, and in terms of this, we don't use base, we are using focused. At least here, we're using focused. If it's base, we do that. If it's focused, then we create a pseudo element and the box shadow. We create a pseudo element that has a shadow centered, so distributed on all sides, if I remember the box shadow correctly, with a stroke of 2 pixels that has the color --p focused. If we look at this button here, I think if we just come down here, we can see --p focus is blue. So are they setting a box shadow? Let's see, let's try and override that. Box shadow 2px. What's the, let's do the same syntax. Let's change that to hard-coded 2 pixels, and let's change that to green. We do not, let's remove those. Let me, it's a pseudo element though, so I don't really have access to the pseudo element. I don't know how to get access to the pseudo element here. Typically should be it should be, this is the actual element that we're styling, but the pseudo element, how do I get access? Okay, well, I can't, doesn't, I don't know how to get access to the pseudo element. After, do I, do I just do, do I just do this? Can I create, after, I think that's the pseudo element we're looking for, right? Remove that, oops, not you. Let's do something simple like order. Okay, sure. Let me change that to, oops, what happened? Okay, let me change that to purple, gray. Cool, that's taking effect. So, come on. Okay, just never mind. Now the box shadow itself. The box shadow on all sides, they set it to 2 pixels. The P focused variable. So what we're just gonna do is set it to green. Doesn't seem to, okay, set it to green, but we want to, where is that? Where is the studio element? We're just playing with it. Oh, come on, it's gone. I have to write it again. Okay, so red. After box shadow, let's just make it yellow this time. So it's yellow, very obvious. And can I add, a focus that says box shadow, subjects, let's say, yeah, let's just say red. So this isn't taking, I don't know if this is possible. Focus. No, it doesn't seem like it is. When I focus, it doesn't go red. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. It does, but it's been overridden. Now, let me see if I can override that blue finally by just saying, hey, override everything else. It's still showing blue. I really hope that would show red, but it's showing blue. Are we sure this is pseudo elements? Look, it's red. Awesome. So they use a box shadow. I think this shows they use a box shadow. I mean, if we can override it using the box shadow property, then they probably use a box shadow. I can't remember why you have to have this content, but it's some niche obscure. There's some niche obscure reason why you need content. But why? Where? What is this at content? So weird. Well, I think that solves my mystery. They have, in terms of like how what properties they are using to set the blue outline. Mystery is not fully solved though. I need to know. If we remove focus, if we close this, does this still remain overreading? Yes, it does. When we right click, the blue is still overreading with red. Now, yeah, so the last part of the mystery is how is it that they are not showing an outline when I click, but they're showing an outline when I right click. The reason this red is there all the time is probably because I have done something wrong. How do I get access to my studio elements? This is somewhere here. Okay, yes, it's here. Remove that, and also remove those. So can I say on focus? I don't think so. I tried before, didn't I? And it didn't give me a. Yeah, I can't. How do you do this? There must be a way. So when I do this and I click focus, does it create a new class? It just does. So when the button itself is focused, does that bubble into every studio element? I've just about spent my 30 minutes on this. I will continue tomorrow. Yeah, continue tomorrow looking into that condition, how they're applying that condition of. Okay. It could just be this, the difference between base and focused. When it's focused, there is a box shadow. When it is not focused, they're using a negative offset. The negative offset is -1 times the offset. The offset, so the border width is 0, 1 pixel. It could just be this if okay. Well, I'll look more at this tomorrow. Base. I'll look more into this tomorrow. Well, I think this is reasonable progress in terms of deciphering how they chose to create that outline. It's amazing, right? How much code and how much logic in terms of stringing of logic goes into just setting a border outline when you right click. It's crazy. Okay. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow.